everybody takes a seat, I just have a couple things to say. It's really all I'm capable of. I first want to say I know there are probably some of you here who I haven't talked with or greeted yet. I'm sorry if I miss you, and if you see me wandering around helplessly, please come up to me and so we can greet each other and I can welcome you to Larry's celebration. I'm kind of waiting for Lance. I'm like, oh Anyway, I'm just so happy that you're all here. Our family, our wonderful friends from different parts of the country, actually. From other countries, actually. It means so much to me, and I'll be forever grateful for all the love and support you gave me through these really hard months, offering me help, offering me food. I love you all, and Larry loved you all. In fact, Larry would love this event. And not because it's about him, but because it's about the gathering of all the people he cares about. I don't think I can say any more. I mean, I have a lot to say, but I just can't. Everybody knows. Love her. Anyway, I love all of you, and I'm so happy you're here. And I want to have a chance to speak to each and every one of you throughout the rest of this afternoon. So we're just going to have, Lance is going to give you, Lance is my standby guy. He's going to say a lot of the things that I would have liked to have said. And then after that, I want anyone who'd like to say anything about Larry to please come up, introduce yourself, and do so. And we also have a wireless mic that I'm going to give to one of my granddaughters, and she can pass it around to anybody who would like to speak from where you're sitting. You don't have to come up on the stage. So please, I welcome everyone to share a thought or two about Larry. That's it. So I'm turning it over to Lance now. Lance? Yeah.
Hey everybody, thank you for coming. Haven't seen a lot of you for a long time. It's really loud. Is this too loud, guys?
No,
It's good then.
I'm gonna back up a little bit because it's backbeat.
Come forward.
Okay. Hear me now?
Yes.
All right.
We love your voice, man.
We're doing it. Hey, I'm gonna try to get through this, and it's an emotional situation here because everybody loved Larry, my dad, and but like Darlene said, he would have enjoyed this because this is a party about him. And if you knew him, he wanted to be the center of attention. Growing up, he would hold court at the dinner table and let his booming laugh take over the room. So today's his birthday. Today would have been his 82nd birthday. All right, so let's treat this like a birthday party instead, okay? Good times, good laughter. I know we're all feeling it, but I know he would want us to be happy and not moping around, okay? If you know me, I'm pretty long-winded. I've had to cut this down a couple times, but he deserves a long-winded eulogy. He was one of those guys. So let me take care of some housekeeping stuff, and let me get my flow going here. It's kind of nervous seeing a lot of you people because I know a lot of you people my entire life, so it's good to see you all, really, okay? So Darlene and I want to welcome you here, and little housekeeping stuff. If you want a beer, any alcohol, or any drinks, there's a bar down the hallway on the left. You go down there, pay on your own, sorry. If you need to hit the restrooms, same hallway on your right, past the main entrance. There's restrooms there, okay? Sorry about the weather. I ordered sun, but my connection's not working anymore. Appreciate you all coming out here. There's a shuttle that'll run you up and down to your cars out in front, so take advantage of it, okay? We're gonna have a sit-down eating buffet type of lunch at 1:30. So if I run long, throw something at me and I'll get off the stage. Okay? And then we have the room till about 4. All right, so let's enjoy it. Let's share some stories, catch up, and you're all here because at some point you were all together during his lifetime. And I know he would like to enjoy that again with you guys. Okay. Some stuff. Here we go. So Darlene and my dad were married for 36 years, and she was the love of his life, and he was raised in San Francisco, and Vivian and Dale Rogers were his parents. He was born in 1940, so he grew up in the city during the 40s and 50s, and he loved the city. Let me tell you, he really loved the city. Dawn, his oldest sister, is here, and Nancy, his baby sister, is here. And he definitely had 2 extra moms growing up, he said. And that was nice. He totally enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but he really, really enjoyed living in the city and growing up with them at that time. He had me and my sister Kimberly, wherever Kimberly is, and we had a brother Jason who passed away in 1969. And with my wife Cherish, who's been with me for 32 years, that was a special thing. I don't know where I'm going. I'm sorry. got a little lost here. Kathy is his stepdaughter, and he loved her just like biological daughter, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And Adele was another person in his life that he treated like a daughter. Okay? But his most proudest thing was his 3 granddaughters, Brianna, Casey, and Emma. And that's all he could talk about even though I'm their parent of 2 of them, he'd still tell me how great they were and their accomplishments. So he really, really loved that. Hold on, I need the water. Thank you. So, and then one of the people he would always talk about, a special person, was Aunt June when he was growing up. And Aunt June is my grandfather's youngest sister. But my dad and Aunt June had a special relationship. And so, Aunt June, thank you for coming. Like I said, he grew up in the city, went to Poly High, graduated, and he went into the Air Force and did 4 years during the Cold War from 58 to 62. And he was really proud of that. And he actually got a presidential citation for his service during the Cold War. And that was a time in his life where he met Greg Cabby, who is not here. He lives in Wisconsin, and Billy Dascarillas. Billy and my dad grew up together in the city and ran around, and Billy just passed away 1 month before my dad. So they're hanging out, running around again, I'm sure. But those 3 guys during that part of his life, I think set the tone for him, because both of those guys were really good guys too. So the three of them helped each other out through their early adulthood, raising kids, getting married, doing all that stuff. And they're super important in his life, and he would mention them a lot. It's always good to have long-term friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. He became a teacher in the mid-60s and worked at Seaside High School for a couple years with Ralph Beatty, and then moved up to Half Moon Bay, where he met a majority of everybody here. And he stayed there for 38 years, I think, from English teacher, so my papers were really looked at, and counselor and administrator and so forth. So he worked his way up the ladder in the education world, and I'm going to talk more about that later on, but he actually accomplished a lot, and he provided opportunities for thousands of kids. But his name's Larry Lee Rogers, full name. And I don't know what you think about when you hear somebody's name. He went by Larry. He went by Butch. He did. Growing up, that's what I knew him as, Butch. He went by Larry Lee. Some people called him Larry Lee. Some people called him Lair. Uncle Butch was a big one in our family with 13 cousins running around. So you heard that a lot. Uncle Larry came out. The one I'm most proud of is Dad. Then Mr. Rogers, of course. And a certain age group, everybody in this room knows who Mr. Rogers is. So he took that. And I'm 16 years old. I got the privilege of going over to school a lot. All of a sudden I hear Raj. And he's all, hey, Raj, hey. Never knew his nickname was Raj. Right? So if you played golf with him, you knew his nickname was Layup Larry, or that SOB made that putt. I can't believe it. So he had a lot of names, but the one he was most proud of was Grandpa. You know, and like I said before, he loved his 3 granddaughters more than anything. And but whatever name he called them by, you know, he was still the same guy, you know. And he displayed the character and qualities that you really want to, that I only started to appreciate now that I'm in my 50s. And, you know, I journeyed through my life, my childhood through adulthood, and Larry, my dad, has displayed a bunch of qualities that I want to talk to you guys about, that I'm super proud of, that he passed on to a bunch of you in this room. Like I said, long-winded, and I'll cut this down. So. But he was reliable, he had consistency, forethought, of course humor, if you know him, competitiveness, and love. And, you know, 38 years in the same school system and showing up every day to work and influencing thousands of students' lives throughout that career, that's reliable. The thing is, when he would talk to you, he would make you think about what you wanted to say. He'd ask you questions, but he didn't give you the answers. So he would ask them, make a decision, what are the consequences of that decision, and then what are going to be the events from those consequences. So his time as an educator, he gave, you know, I don't know how many thousands of students that ability and those tools to, you know, follow their journey in life and find their passion. My experience is I move out playing football, freshman, and next door neighbor, my dad's on the deck, she's yelling up, hey Raj, I finally got out of, you know, I'm in school, I'm doing this whole thing. Well, who's that? I'm one of my students from a couple years ago, she decided to go back to school. That was the kind of guy he was, okay? He made you think about your decisions and he followed through with them, and he gave you the tools that you could do to move forward. And if you look around the room, there's a bunch of administrators in here, in school districts and colleges, because they followed his lead and they came to him, talked to him, and he was that guy. He was that teacher that you would say, you know, hey, I knew this teacher back in the day, Mr. Rogers, and he said this to me and I did this and now I'm successful. He was the coach that helped out young athletes become young adults. He used to coach basketball and golf. I think he only coached golf so he could play for free at half the day. But anyway, you know, he did that. He was respected for his opinion, and coworkers and, you know, people in general that I knew of him would come to him and ask him about his opinion about stuff, about careers, about life, relationships, whatever. And he was that mentor guy. You know, he provided, you know, opportunities for, like I said, people in the room that he worked with, he surrounded himself with. And I remember him coming home and saying, hey, I'm gonna take the test to be administrator. Administrator, why do you want those headaches? Well, because. And that's what he did. And people followed in his footsteps. Larry was that friend who you could talk with. And it didn't matter how long you had not talked to him, when you talked to him, you felt like you just got done talking to him yesterday. And he made people feel safe when you talked to him. And he allowed them the safety and the freedom and the zone to be able to talk to him honestly about problems. Because he was genuine. You know, he was not fake. He might give you the truth and you might not like it, but he was not going to be fake with you. And, you know, and I think that's what makes him a great friend. You know, and I think a lot of people in this room have been in that position with him, having those discussions, walk away and go, that was worth talking to him, you know? So all those qualities make him the teacher, the mentor, the coach, and the friend that people mention when they start to tell a story. Like I said, I had this teacher, Mr. Rogers, who did that, you know? And he was the person, now the kids are calling an influencer. And I think he was a life influencer, you know? So that was his reliability part that I kind of found in his personality. His consistency is another thing. Some people might say consistency and reliability are the same thing, or they're similar. But, you know, for consistency for me, he was the person that you knew what to expect. When you went to go talk to him, he was never too high and emotional, or he was never too low and depressed. He was steady. He was down the middle. He was there. He was that rock guy. And people, you know, find comfort in that. And, you know, he made sure that he was calm and thoughtful and reassuring. And I was the son, I had to go to him with these major life decisions, but a lot of people in the room went to him for those major life decisions too, because they knew he was not going to cheat them, you know? And so I know about his consistency in my personal life. I moved to Idaho 14 years, lived out there, and we were super close before we moved. He called every Sunday at 5 o'clock. Talked for an hour because dinner was at 6. Sunday night, you had to be at the table. Dinner was set at 6. Every Sunday for 14 years, he called me. That's consistency. I mean, that's really good. So back in the day, he was an athlete. Guys here who play golf with him wouldn't say that. But he played basketball, played tennis. He said he was a swimmer, but like a rock. But yeah, it's true. But he used that competitiveness in a lot of different aspects of his life. And one of the things that he would refuse to move up in golf team. He continued to play from the back, and I kept getting on, move up, move up, move up. And he said, no, then I'd have to give up strokes and I won't win a skin. Skin's a bit for you non-golfers there. That was his competitiveness. Even though he had the slightest little chance of winning, he still tried, you know? And for me, again, I don't want to make this about me or anything, but, you know, he was a guy I played golf with for 53 years. And, you know, one of the, in his 30s, his slice was so bad that he couldn't keep the ball on the course, honestly. He couldn't do it. And instead of quitting, what he did is he threw his driver away, pulled out his 3-wood, and started hitting it shorter. And then he would lay up. And then he would chip on and putt. And for me, that showed me a valuable lesson in life, because he had a situation where he had to do something to change it. He just couldn't stay in that situation and not continue to do something that he really wanted to do. So he changed it. He looked at it from a different perspective. He looked at it and made a decision, excuse me, that I'm going to do it this way. And for the next 50 years, that's the way he played. And yeah, for me, that gave me the perspective of a win-win situation, because that's what he was always looking for, was a win-win situation. This way he could stay on the golf course and keep playing, and he, continue to make friends with all the golfers and stuff, because he was gonna quit. So that shows determination, and like I said, he had that ability to look at a situation from all different types of angles and pick out what he thought was the best solution and move forward. So I appreciate that, because I've taken that into my life and tried to teach it and pass it down to my girls. So that's a good one. So I've been missing one of the most enjoyable parts of Larry's being, and that was his humor and his laughter. And he always loved to josh around with everyone, and that's why he loved his poker nights. I mean, from the 60s, he grew up, and anybody who came over to our house, you knew you were going to play cards, you knew you were going to play poker. All these knuckleheads down here would play poker with him, and that was one of his passions of life. And I'm sorry. So anyway, that's one thing that I wanted to talk about, was his humor, because he had that laugh that you could hear him 4 miles away when he's laughing. And it was a good thing, because he enjoyed himself, and that's one of the things that I really enjoyed. So let me take a break.
You're doing good.
So one of the things that he loved the most was Darlene. And Darlene was his true love. And they spent 36 years together building a life and a relationship. And my dad truly loved that. And during all those hours in the golf cart, he and I would talk. And he would tell me how he felt so lucky. I want to read this because I don't want to, forget or say anything incorrect. We had this conversation a lot. And
It's okay, good.
yeah. He told me many times how he loved Darlene and how he felt that he was so lucky to have her, love him so deeply, and that she provided a truly wonderful and a fulfilling life for him, a fulfilled life for him. And I want to say thank you to Darlene for that, because dedicating your life and taking care of my dad, and the energy that it takes, and to give him his best life, Darlene, I just want to say thank you for that. For sure. I don't know, you guys know, towards the end of his life, he was having a difficult time walking. And Darlene was his arms, legs, and ears at the end. So, thank you.
I know. Okay.
All right. As a famous man once said, I might not be the smartest, but I do know what love is. And Forrest Gump might know what love is. And there's libraries filled with writings about what love is and stuff like that. I'm, not the expert, but I can give you what my definition is, okay? And I saw this with my dad and Darlene, and just some of the stuff, So, the definition is going to be different for everybody in the room, because it's different definitions for different people. But I think some of the things are, it's the conversation you can have across a room just by a glance.
Yeah.
Love is the gentle touch on your hand to reassure you that things will be okay. The whisper in your ear that is only supposed to be meant by the two of you. And the million little things that you don't even know what people do for you and what you do for them. Love is all those things, and you have to believe in love because love transcends distance, time, and realms of dimension, in my belief. While we're physically separated, our hearts are warmed with the knowledge that one day we'll see and be with our loved ones again. I think that belief is love. The memories will grow fonder with time, and happy memories will fuel our desire to keep those warm feelings alive for our loved ones. And we can accomplish those things by talking about Larry's life and talking about his memory and the time that we were all fortunate enough to have with him. And that way he can still be here and present with us all. It's okay to continue to be with him and love him and have him love you by your thoughts and memories, and keep talking about it. I know this was long-winded, and I'm sorry about that again, but the guy deserved it. And whatever name you knew him by, Larry Lee Rogers, I think we can all agree that we will remember him the way he wanted to be remembered, and that was, he was a good guy. And, he will be missed, but again, he will be remembered, and I think that's true. Again, thank you, Darlene, for taking care of him, and thank you for all coming. I appreciate it. He, like I said, would love this. So if anybody wants to talk or anything like that, if you want to use the mic, you can use the mic. If you want to come up here, you can come up here. But thank you all very much for showing the love for him.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Gary.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
Lance and Cherish moves to Spain, and I understood every word he said. It's amazing how quick I caught on to Spanish. Lance, that was wonderful. Your dad was a great guy, just like you said. My name's Gary Dilley. I taught at Half Moon Bay High School for 17 years, and some of my good friends from the high school are here today to honor Larry. Larry was one of the counselors at Half Moon Bay High School when I joined the faculty in 1971. His partner in counseling was Irene Dvornikoff, 2 counselors for 800 students. Irene was an academic, a UC graduate, who was perfect for students who knew where they were going. Larry was a graduate of San Francisco State. Irene was an example of Bloom's taxonomy in action. Larry's talent was an example of street smarts. Between these 2 counselors, they met the needs of most of the students. The counseling office was right around the corner from my classroom, adjacent to the office of the principal. I was assigned to teach the last 2 periods of the day that required course that most seniors dread, American government. My class looked like it was the hand-picked group that most needed to be located next to the principal's office. Larry took keen interest in me, the new guy, because I was projected to relieve him of his duties as Frost Soft basketball coach. Larry loved basketball and played it at Polytechnic High School, where my dad also went to high school back in the last century. We met up in the gym after school for a little basketball. It's never fun to be the new guy who has to prove himself, but with Larry, there was nothing to prove. He made me a friend. He was easy to like. The friendship we struck up at work soon morphed into a close friendship out of work. Not all administrators appreciated Larry's counseling methods. The method of communicating with the kid at his level, with an understanding of who the kid was, what his strengths and weaknesses are, and how to work with him. One such administrator assigned Larry to a new division of the district called Continuation School. This was a great loss to the regular students, but a godsend for the continuation kids. Finally, those marginalized students had someone at the head of their educational program who could communicate with them. Larry was the perfect match for this group. He was able to get these kids working and progressing toward graduation, while at the same time making their education experience, if not fun, a whole lot more pleasant than it had been. To this day, students from Pilarcitos High School talk about how much they liked Mr. Rogers and what a good teacher and what a good guy he was, that they owe a debt of gratitude to him. Larry had a gift of being able to see good in people. He did not live his life trying to impress anyone, and he wasn't impressed by people who did. He taught his own children to be good citizens, and he gave them the latitude to develop their own interests and talents. Lance and Kimberly became wonderful adults and parents.
Thank you, Eric.
I enjoyed Larry's friendship for many years. I was present for many Monday night football games and dinners and weekend barbecues and rounds of Pabst Blue Ribbon. I always felt welcome at his house. Larry was my best man. I looked up to him, and I respected his judgment. And I loved to have his friendship. One of Larry's most attractive personality traits was his sense of humor. He loved to tease and to tell people jokes and to laugh. Despite moving to the wilds of the hinterland here, he still kept in touch, sending funny clips of Irish comics. He loved Irish humor, such that maybe he actually was an Irishman. Maybe his basket in the hospital got mixed up with some other baby, and his mom and dad drive home the wrong one. If that was the case, I think they brought home the right one.
Tough acts to follow. Lance and Gary, they said it all. But it's my honor. I want to talk about what I know about Larry Rogers and what he's done to help so many students and parents and other teachers, including me. But first of all, before I get to that, and I had all kinds of things, and Maria said, "You're gonna go way too long." So I'm gonna try to keep this short, but it's hard. And everything you said was perfect. Anyway. And first thing, we gotta thank Darlene for all this, because the love that you and Larry shared was so deep, so beautiful, everlasting, inspirational, and very rare. And during, this has to be your most difficult time in your life, the most stressful, the saddest, and yet you did all of this so we could all come together and celebrate Larry's life. So Larry had a lot of passions in life, but his biggest passion was his family. He loved Darlene, Lance, Kimberly, Kathy, Jeff, and he would. I got, in 1977, I was hired. I'm jumping around, but that's what I do, to teach English at Half Moon Bay High School. I met Larry because of my great friendship with Gary Dilley. And 2 years later, I was able to, they expanded the continuation high school. Larry had a trailer, small trailer with 12 kids. And I'd go by and they'd say, "Hey, Raj," the students, "Raj," you know, and the students loved him. They expanded the program because the district and high school realized Larry could help out many more kids. They had to make that possible. So Larry could hire 2 more teachers, and he hired his great friend, the late and great Jerry Murphy. And you all know Jerry, incredible person, teacher and coach. And then he hired me, and I'm a pretty young teacher, and Larry's 10 years older than I am, and Murph, a little older, but I looked up to those guys, and I always felt I'm the luckiest guy. I get to work with Jerry Murphy and Larry Rogers. That couldn't be better. And they moved us into a nice building, the A building at Half Moon Bay High School. They gave us 2 large rooms, I think it was A, 3, and 4. And they had a partition so we could close and make 2 separate rooms or leave it open for all the students to be together. And we did that. And the kids loved Larry Rogers, just loved him. And because Larry, the kids could sense that Raj really liked Jerry Murphy and me, those kids really liked Jerry Murphy and me, and it was all because of Larry. And it was so much fun. But there's something else to this. Right next to us on our right was a teacher teaching state requirements, Neil McNevin. Where's Neil? Neil, and great teacher, great athlete, Hall of Fame coach at Half Moon Bay High School. And he was on the right side. On the left, very left side, teaching U.S. history and government, was Gary Dilley. Hall of Fame coach, athletic director, and greatest guy. So I knew I was right in the middle of greatness. That's how I always felt. And Larry was leading us. So, and I have more to say, but at 15 years, Larry was my principal. 15. Every day I got to go to school, and I was so happy to go to school because Larry was a principal, and I got to be with him. And I watched Larry daily as he counseled, talked to kids, got on kids, and they responded. He saved countless lives, he really did. Because the kids that came to us in continuation, their whole educational history was failure. By the time they got to Larry, they felt they were hopeless. They couldn't do anything right. And Larry's gift, he was able to get these kids feeling good about themselves, that they could be successful. So I watched that for many years. About a month after we were in the A building, Larry, Jerry, and I come on a Monday morning to Mary's opening up the front door, and we looked, and one of our students over the weekend had the doorknob and the metal sleeve that holds a doorknob on to the wall, to the door. One of our students we know over the weekend had come up with his or her knife. We don't know because we have boys and girls there. A lot of them had knives, but someone. Oh, thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Shelley.
Shelley.
Over there.
Oh, Jesus.
We're cousins.
Oh, you're both beautiful. So,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. And so, this person, this student, had carefully carved into the metal, artistically engraved 2 words. And the words were Raj's class. R-O-G''S, class. And that's what it was. For the students at Pilicutas High School, it was Raj's class. And everybody loved him. And Larry and Jerry and I just laughed and felt good. Well, years go by and all of a sudden Pilicutas finally gets its own location down by the district office, Cabrillo Unified. And every year that I was there, I'd walk up or drive up and then walk by our old classroom just to check. Raj's class, still there. And it just made me feel so good every year until I retired. And so that's Larry Rogers. Lance, you said it all, but I witnessed it. I was with him. I love Larry Rogers. We all do. And that came to 1999, 2000. And by that time, Larry had become great friends with Mike Andrews. And Mike agreed to come to being the continuation independent study program to teach English and everything else. Mike Andrews, fabulous English teacher. And Larry and no better guy than Mike Andrews, hilarious too. But Larry told Mike and me that he was going to retire at the end of the school year in June 2000. I was so sad. Larry, don't retire. It's been so great with you. Don't retire. And no, I've done enough time. Someone else will take over. Well, the plan was Mike Andrews was going to take over as principal. But when the time came, the district had other ideas. Mike, we need you more to go to the elementary school in El Granada. They really need your help that only you can do. And Mike did that. They loved him in El Granada. They love him everywhere he goes. So, but back to Larry. It came to April of 2000. And the rumor was the district office was going to give us a big raise, and we hadn't had a big raise in a long time. I went right to Larry and said, Larry, you don't want to retire this year. Wait one more year because we're all going to get a big raise. And Larry just said, with Larry's smile, he looked at me. Larry smiled very calmly, said, Bobby, you can't buy time. You're going to retire. And like almost always, Larry was right. We can't buy time. And one of the things that Larry'd always tell me when he'd talk to me that leaving for the day, give Maria a big hug and kiss for me. And then I said, give Darlene a hug and kiss for me. But that was all Larry. And so he was going to retire. And 2 weeks before he was going to retire into school, a reporter came down from the Half Moon Bay Review, the really good newspaper in Half Moon Bay. They wanted to do an article honoring all the years of tremendous service that Larry had put in, saving kids and helping kids, parents and teachers. So the reporter came, interviewed Larry, interviewed Mike and me and some students, and right before the school year ended, the article came out. It's a very nice article honoring Larry. But on the right, in the middle of the article on the right side, they had a really cool picture of Larry. very good looking Larry. And he was standing with his smile. You could see he was happy. And he was standing in front of Pellucidas High School, his school, and our school, right next to the Pellucidas High School sign. And it was great, but to me, the thing that I remember most, and I'll tell you why I remember it, but the headline for the article in big black bold print was, "The neighborhood won't be the same. Larry Rogers set to retire." And I stayed with Pellucidas another 9 years. And I can honestly tell you, my neighborhood was never the same without Larry. It was never as good, never. And the same with the students. He was one of a kind, as you all know, but in the best way possible. That was Larry. So it's hard, and we all deal with death differently. I have a difficult time with it myself. I still talk to my parents every day. My older brother died 2 years ago. I talk to him every day. I've lost 2 nephews. I talk to them every day. And I added Larry right after Thanksgiving, and it helps me. But as I'm watching all this, I just think, Larry, you're up there. You're with your lifelong great friend, Billy Dascarellis, who is also Hall of Fame coach and amazing teacher. And he's up there with Jerry Murphy. And they're having a great time. And I hope they're laughing. And so, a couple more things and I'll get off. But as I've been thinking about this, Larry, Jerry, Gary Dilly, Mike Andrews, Neil McNevin, and I, and Lance, we have something very much in common here. We all are married to wonderful, loving, beautiful, smart wives. And so, and maybe, get it from there. So, last thing I want to say, again, as I look out at all of you, and thank you for listening, everyone. I know all of us have 2 things in common. One, we all love Larry Rogers. Every one of us. The second thing, our neighborhood will never be the same without Larry Rogers. Our neighborhood will never be as good without you there. Happy birthday. We all love you.
It might be seeing a house. We'll talk about hands. See.
Cosmetic only. I'd like to start by offering my condolences to Darlene and all of the Rogers family. I started this speech many times, and I wanted to pay respect to a man that I respect very much. And I had so many different memories of Larry, and during those times of memories, all of a sudden I thought of one of Larry's favorite comedians, Jerry Seinfeld. Larry loved Jerry Seinfeld, and I forget the episode, but he said, it was during that monologue, he said, Man's biggest fear is public speaking, number one. Number two is death. I tried to channel Larry and I said, let's switch places. Of course, he didn't answer. As usual, he did it his way. My sentiments are not to be mistaken for reverence towards a man I truly respected. I knew Larry for over 40 years, and I considered him a great friend. The kid from the mission never forgot where he came from. He was always kind, he was loyal, and his generosity were attributes that I truly admired. Most of all, Larry had a wicked sense of humor. There were many a kid that thought they could outwit him and outtalk him, but Larry always had a quick answer, and never in a way where it was demeaning, but where it made the student stop and think. Larry was very artful at getting kids' attention, very successful. As far as working with Larry, he made the environment comfortable and infused enough laughter to lighten up everyone around him. When he retired, we realized the large footprint that he had left behind. When Larry and Darlene moved to Penn Valley, all of us knew that we would miss him very much. We were happy that he was starting a new life, and at the same time, we realized our life was going to be less. We would talk on the phone often, and for a long time, we would laugh for most of the conversation. We would laugh about things that were in the news every day. Those were the funniest things to both of us. Larry always felt that the newspaper was one of the funniest things to talk about. The news every day. In between laughter, Larry was the most straight up guy that I ever knew. If you wanted the truth and you couldn't handle it, you did not want to talk to Larry, because he would always tell you how it was and how it is, and he would always speak the truth. By the way, today is Larry's birthday, and I know what he's thinking right now. Everyone's having a party for me and having a great time, and I can't make it. Larry, all of us wish you were here. It would be that much better. But at this time, let's take a second and celebrate Larry and his life with us. Cheers, Larry.
Cheers.
Sorry, guys. Hey, if anybody else really wants to get up and talk, you can talk, but they got the food out and I'm sure that everybody's ready to eat, so.
And that was all wonderful, but I do want to add that I'm sure there are other people who would like to say things about Larry, share some thoughts, and you're welcome to do it while we're eating. That's fine. We have a portable mic we can send around, and you can speak from your seat, because I know there's some people that would like to say something, so please don't hesitate just because we're having lunch. And enjoy lunch, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, who has the ticket that says number 1 on it?
Auntie, right there.
I'm just gonna say, I'm the youngest of the family, and I'm only bringing this for all the people who shared and loved and knew that happy day he did enjoy his time with all of you. And you all know how old this is, because you know when he got it. And so I've had it all these years, and I thought I would just share that he did care. And that's all. I can't say any more other than I know that he did, and would appreciate all of you coming to see him. Thank you.